Carrrnversations. You guys, welcome to today's conversation. I have a very special guest, okay? Very, very, very special guest. Of course, Bong Musa Dlamini, and also me saying Bong Musa Dlamini is actually a little bit of a disrespect, okay? Because it is Dr. Bong Musa Dlamini with me. I've been knowing Bong Musa since we were in grade 8. That was it back in 2008. So welcome to my conversations.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So the first thing that I really want to ask you, right, is now when you were dreaming and thinking one day I want to become a doctor, that thought and that dream, how is it now that you are actually doing it? Has the job lived up to the dream, or are you like, this is whack?
Yeah, it's interesting because when I actually think back of that dream, it was never really a dream.
Got you.
When I was in high school, I was always on autopilot. So if someone mentions something and challenges me to do something, I'm like, it's fine, sign up my name. So I don't have those profound stories of I was 3 years old or I had a sick aunt or anything like that. It was one of those where I called her for my head girl. She says, oh yeah, I'm doing medicine. It's cool. You could give it a shot. I'm like, sounds like a nice career. I then went and applied. So the dream really started when I was already within there. And I was like, actually, wow, this is fascinating. This is cool. I can actually make a living out of this. And then in terms of where we are now, like the question you asked, it's at some points I'm still very new in the profession. So I still haven't hit that point where I wanna be one day. So the dream is we're still going there. Yeah.
And what excites you when you, as a doctor, what excites you? What is the one thing? Well, I don't know how your days look like, and I suppose no day is the same. But what is the one thing that excites you?
I like I really enjoy the actual work, like the actual physical work. So that makes me happy, the physiology and anatomy and just how everything works and how you fix problems.
Cutting people up.
The technicalities of medicine, basically. That's what gets my pump going. So that's why I enjoy a lot of theater stuff and a lot of critical care things. The social aspect of the job, I understand its importance, but I'd be lying to you if I said I really like that part.
You know, for me, a doctor in our community, and by our community I mean the Black community, is one of the jobs that make mothers very proud. That when a mom or a dad or a grandmother will speak of someone and say, "Oh, they are a doctor," do you carry that sense of pride? And I'll tell you, when I was in res, we had a lot of medical students, and I'm gonna be the first one to tell you they had a sense of pride. I'll be the first one to tell you they made the rest of us feel like y'all aren't even doing real careers. We are the ones studying real things. Do you carry that sense of pride?
I've had to unlearn a lot of that.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. There was a time when I also felt very cocky about this profession I'm going into, and this was mainly when I just started.
Got you.
But I quickly came to terms with the fact that this cockiness that you see, it's of no substance. There's nothing there. It's because of we're actually privileged to be there because society decided to put us there, but it can easily knock us off, and it doesn't fit my personality. So there are times when I actually don't even want people to know that I'm actually a medical practitioner, and
medical practitioner.
So that's the thing. I mean, there are times when even the title, there's lots of arguments about it. At the end of the day, it's a job like all jobs.
Got you.
And I understand why the people in our communities feel the way they feel about it. But per se, when I actually am practicing the job, I just do the job to the best of my ability. The cockiness, I've had to unlearn it because it can be very lonely when you actually do that.
Wow.
It can be very lonely because you then constantly seeking out these people actually telling you big and exactly and
affirmations and got you.
And there's a point where people are like, stop now, dude. This is too much. Yeah.
So, and what I wanted to ask you now is, now you've been doing this now for some time, 2 years, and And then, unfortunately for you, well, I would say unfortunately, is when you just started going into medicine, that was the beginning of COVID, right?
Yeah.
I will actually, to really get maybe, so that we want to live in the experience with you.
Okay.
The COVID experience, being a doctor in the COVID, how has that been like?
Yeah, it's a bit of mixed bags because so I have to first put in context where I am in terms of my medical career. So I'm like fresh out of varsity, put it like that. So there's still a lot of learning that has to happen. So I'm still in the early development phase of the job. And with that, so I'm partly still in training, if you can put it like that. As much as I'm practicing, I'm also in training because I still need a lot of supervision and approval of what I'm doing. So what COVID did is it took away a bit of that learning part, because now you've learned in varsity, now you must perfect the craft. And so now, because of the pandemic, there's a lot of gaps because we now mainly focused on the one aspect, and it disrupted working. So as a young doctor, I'm not gonna lie, it's been difficult at times because you literally end up in a situation where we need hands. We just need people working here because we are struggling with this and that.
Struggling with numbers
per se. So now you're not experiencing the full, like some departments, you're not getting the full package. You're getting a watered down package of that. So
because everyone's busy.
And things, just like everything else, the way things functioned in the hospital changed. So as a result, now that you in this certain department, because of COVID, there's 1, 2, and 3 that we're no longer doing. So I will never learn those things. Right? So now I have to take the onus upon myself to learn it.
Personally, were you afraid of COVID? Just now as a personal, outside of...
Personally?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, I was. I was.
And now, unfortunately for you, you're afraid of COVID, but you have to go and face, really, as one who has to go and face your fears, you have to go and face this COVID.
Yeah, and it was not really... Yeah, it was. And the thing is, everyone in the department was afraid of COVID. So, yeah, it's just one of those where because now as a junior, you look up to the seniors. What's happening here? And sometimes you're thrown under the bus as the junior, so you find yourself doing stuff like, why am I the one who has to go and examine the COVID positive patient and not you? So there's some bullying there as well. But yeah, so there were those moments.
Scariest moment for you as far as the work and COVID, if you're willing to share?
Scariest moment has, I think, right in the beginning, when I was rotating in internal medicine and they were like, there's a patient, COVID positive, put on your PPE, go see the patient. In retrospect, maybe I was a bit overreacting, but in that moment, I was like, what do you mean? I must be the one who goes there. And I was very reluctant, but I ended up going because I had to. So to me, that was like, why? But yeah. And yeah, I mean, it caused panic as well because everyone was on high alert. So that was my moment.
So now there's a lot of rumors and there's a lot of publications and a lot of things that everyone says about COVID from they are trying to kill us to whatever. But I want to ask, at some point, do you feel that we over-exaggerated COVID or we are underestimated COVID? What do you think? As a society, as a community, as just a global, just in your personal perspective, do you feel we were right to react like we did and to, or did we not do enough, or were we a little bit taking it too far?
I think, that's a tricky one, but personally, better to overreact than underestimate and then pay the
bigger price. Exactly.
So yes, maybe in the future we'll find out we might have overreacted, but again, I think better we overreact as opposed to now we don't do anything and then we regret it at the end. So from a global perspective, when you don't know, you don't know.
When you don't know, you
so
don't
it's
know.
One of those.
Got you.
Yeah.
And then, so how's your fear of COVID now? Now that you've really, I almost want to say, you've touched COVID, you've had to sit with COVID, you have to had coffee with COVID. How's your fear now? Are you?
I wouldn't say I'm afraid of COVID, but that's not just because I've now gained some superpowers. But I've seen I've seen it before.
That's what I'm saying. Got you.
So I've seen it before. I've seen how it does its thing. So now, obviously, I've adapted to that, that's literally. So I'm no longer scared like I used to be, but I'm cautious still because there are still people, unfortunately, who are dying because of COVID.
Because of COVID,
and
right.
the people struggling because of COVID. So, yeah, that will not change. COVID is there, and it still has a dreadful impact on our society. So at no point will I be like, COVID is just COVID. I can't.
There's a doctor I follow on social media, on Facebook. We went to the same race together, and she shares a lot of the emotional impact on doctors of COVID. For example, she spoke about how doctors were tired. She spoke about how doctors were exhausted. She spoke about the anxiety that she's had to suffer, just all of that. So what I wanted to ask you was that, what do you think, what type of emotional support do you think doctors need?
Emotional support.
Firstly, do you think they need emotional support?
Definitely.
Got you.
Definitely need emotional support. I think at the end of the day, majority of the health workers, we're working in the hospital, so we're working under a stressful environment.
Got you.
And then we still have to go back to our families and our loved ones, and still function there as well. So I guess there's the issue now is when a pandemic like this happens, obviously the hours increase, people are overworked, and that has that really is a burden on people's shoulders, and people burn out. So I think with that being said, I can't pinpoint and say this specific thing should have been done, because everyone has different needs when it comes to these pandemics or these situations. But I think mainly support in terms of resources, and not necessarily equipment, but actual people. And that's a difficult one to sort out. Because,
so you think that we needed more doctors?
The entire fraternity, from literally the entire staff in the hospital, we just needed more numbers.
We just needed more numbers. Got you.
Because then that would have relieved us from very long, hectic hours. But this has been something that's been happening for years. This thing of
the medical faculty.
of just these long working hours. That has not changed. And once a pandemic pitches up, then all of a sudden you're like, oops, okay, this is exactly why we needed more numbers.
Do you feel that now specifically for South Africa and being a doctor in the pandemic, do you feel that the government supported the medical?
See, I don't know.
Workers?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
To the best of their ability, maybe not so much.
The thing, I don't think they have. There's much more they could have done. Exactly why they didn't do it, I have no idea.
What is the one thing that you feel like, but this could have been handled a little bit differently, or this is what they should have done?
So when the pandemic got here, I think no one was ready.
Okay.
And the problem was the information from the top down was not good.
Got you.
The people in the top were very out of touch with what's happening on the floor.
Got
and
you.
As a result, when you take your issues on the floor and move them up, you find strange new protocols that just don't make sense, that are not
for you
practical
at the floor.
to work with
You
us
know
on
what?
the floor.
That can resonate a little bit with me, because I always feel when the Department of Education makes these new policies, then I feel like this is beautiful on paper, but in the classroom this is not practical.
Exactly.
Right? I get you.
So we